Some people can pick up a song on a guitar just like that, or they can hear when someone singing is just a little bit out of tune. Or maybe they themselves sing really out of tune, but why is that? Is music something that we learn, or is it just a part of us? A new study published in the Royal Society B has surveyed all of the recent research that has asked this question, and concludes that music may in fact be in our DNA. Studies over the past 30 years have suggested that musical phenotypes, or observable traits, have corresponded with familial clustering. That is, when relatives express the same aptitude or inaptitude for music. Take amusia, for example, also known as tone deafness, the inability to detect notes that are out of key. Around 3% of the world's population has amusia. I'm sure you've heard them at karaoke bars. In 2007, scientists tested the family members of 9 people who had amusia and found that 39% of their first-degree relatives, like brothers, sisters, mom, and dad, also had the condition. But on the other end of the scale, there's absolute pitch, or AP, which is the ability to precisely identify and produce a musical note without any reference. So a person with AP could hear this sound and know that it's an A sharp without first having to hear any other notes to compare it to. That might sound pretty easy. It's not. It's very rare. A small study in 1988 showed that among identical twins, if one twin is found to have AP, there's a 79% chance that the other will too. The likelihood is only 45% if the twins are non-identical. This could mean that there's a relationship between musical aptitude and familial clustering, but this relationship could also be environmental rather than genetic, since twins typically grow up together. But in the last few years, scientists have begun identifying gene expressions that may relate directly to musicality. For instance, a few studies have found a connection between the ability to remember music and perceive musical structures, like choruses, bridges, and note changes, to the expression of 2 specific genes. If you keep a track at home, they are arginine vasopressin receptor 1A, or AVPR1A, and a serotonin transporter gene called SLC684. The researchers stress that these are not the only 2 genes that may relate to music, because music itself is so wonderfully complex that the scientists theorize that our genes too may work like a symphony with different combinations of expressions allowing for different musical strengths. According to this week's study, the next step is to create a worldwide musicality test for children with no formal musical training to help weed out environmental